best of our knowledge explores topics on learning, education, and research. The pandemic exposed the connectivity gap at a time when more children are learning online. On today's episode, we'll speak with U.S. Education Secretary Miguel Cardona about a push by the White House to expand broadband access. Next on the best of our knowledge. You're listening to The Best of Our Knowledge. I'm your host, Lucas Willard. Technology has changed the way students learn, and online tools are common in the classroom. But the pandemic exposed a stark connectivity gap, with many families still without access to high-speed broadband. Gaps in internet access often fall along racial and ethnic lines. Federal officials, including U.S. Education Secretary Miguel Cardona, recently joined hundreds of organizations in the Online for All effort. The campaign is aimed at expanding broadband internet access through the federal Affordable Connectivity Program. Part of the bipartisan infrastructure law, the ACP gives millions of eligible households a discount on their monthly internet bill. I spoke with Secretary Cardona about the campaign.
It's really just us making sure the message is out there. Look, we know the pandemic really exacerbated gaps in access to online connectivity. So what we're trying to do is really double down the messaging. We're really pushing for the onlineforall.org website to be visited where we can connect folks. You know, we have a partnership with Civic Nation to get the word out where people could save $30 a month. And you know, for our students, the device and connectivity is the new pencil, right? It's really not a luxury. It's needed in order for students to access learning, to access telehealth, and we know that the disparities in access are pretty stark. So we want to get the word out. We want to make sure more people sign up so that they could have access across the country.
How many families do not have access to high-speed internet right now?
Yeah, we know about 23% of families don't have access. What we found, though, which is something that we really want to pay attention to, while 80% of white families have access, only 71% of black families have it, and 65% of Hispanic families have it. And if you think about that, you know, a 15-point difference when this is something that is really needed to access basic learning and basic telehealth, we want to close those gaps to make sure everyone has access.
So there's a lot of strategies, I think, that state governments have used to close the connectivity gap. But for those who may be unfamiliar with the term hotspot, what are some of the strategies that school districts have used to get more students connected?
Well, I could tell you from my experience as a commissioner of education in Connecticut, you know, second only to providing meals for families, the focus was really to provide devices and internet access. When schools closed due to the pandemic, it was critical for us to make sure we did all we could to give them access. And I think, you know, by and large, many districts were successful in getting devices in the hands of students and getting some level of connectivity, whether it was through hotspots or improving access in their community. We want to double down on that. We want it to be so that we look in the rearview mirror 5 years from now, we'll see gaps. We want to make sure that in a shorter period of time than 5 years, all students have access, all families have access.
So there's the question of affordability, but there's also the question of physical infrastructure, especially for communities in rural areas. How does this program fit into other federal initiatives to boost connectivity?
Yeah, that's a great question because, it's one thing to try to sign up for it, but if your area doesn't have the connectivity or the broadband access is not available where you are, as you mentioned, rural communities really were impacted significantly during the pandemic. So you have to have both, right? Really, really pleased that, the bipartisan infrastructure plan sets as its one of its goals to provide the infrastructure needed to provide broadband access across the country. So that is happening now. I visited, especially in our communities that have historically been marginalized, Native American communities, for example. I visited native country last year, and I saw poles being put up, cables being drawn. So there are efforts underway across the country to make sure that our rural communities, our under-supported communities are getting broadband access and getting the infrastructure that they need so that programs like this can make their way into those neighborhoods as well.
There's a lot of discussion going on right now about online libraries and moving physical materials, books, into the cloud and having more materials available on the internet. And at the same time, there's state governments that are looking to restrict books, ban books, limit what books students can access. From your position at the federal level, would you like to see any protections for what school libraries can offer and keep libraries from restrictions?
Yeah, you're right, though. I remember my own children having access to thousands of books online. When I was a school assistant, district assistant superintendent, we made sure that we provided access to online learning for students and titles of books that maybe they didn't have in their school library. So it is an integral part of learning. And with regard to the book banning and the state overreach, that to me is more of an effort for people to make themselves nationally known. To get into the newsreels and the news feeds, the national news feeds. It is without question an overreach. The federal Department of Education doesn't oversee that unless it affects the civil rights of students. And we do have some requests for investigations where it is believed that because of the particular books that are being pulled out, it creates a hostile learning environment. That said, the federal government doesn't have a role in that. And it's my position that we need our state and local education leaders to be the ones making decisions like that, not people that are trying to make their name nationally.
If you could give an assessment on how schools have recovered from the pandemic so far, could you give the nation a grade on its progress?
Short of giving a grade, I think it's more important to talk about the areas that we have made growth in and then areas where we need to grow. So we have made growth in recognizing the importance of in-person learning, the importance of mental health support for our students. We're seeing more and more efforts, not only with federal dollars, but states are really understanding that mental health support access has to be part of the school. We're making progress in career pathways, making sure students have access to 2-year schools, 4-year schools, because of the jobs that are coming out of some of the legislation are providing opportunities that students didn't have in the past. Areas that we need to develop and we need to do better. We need to respect the teaching profession and pay teachers a competitive salary, or else we're going to have substitutes in schools where our kids have great needs. We have to do a better job there, and we also have to do a better job allowing our local school boards, our parents and teachers to work together on doing what's right for students and leave the politicians who have no training in classrooms. They just kind of keep the politics out of the classroom. I think the attacks on specific groups of students, whether it's transgender students or LGBTQI students, or attacks on Black history, we need to do a better job removing political hot button issues outside of the classroom. Our kids have suffered enough; they don't need that.
Miguel Cardona is the U.S. Secretary of Education. You're listening to The Best of Our Knowledge. This is The Best of Our Knowledge. I'm Lucas Willard. Last year on this program, we brought you the story of the Hudson Mural Project. The project, involving elementary school students in the small upstate New York city of Hudson, established a colorful mural at a housing development and shared the stories of community members in a place that has changed rapidly in recent years. Hudson has transformed from a working-class city with a population of lower-income residents into a city that's seen an influx of immigrants, artists, and wealthy transplants from the New York City area. For 2023, the extended learning time students at Montgomery C. Smith Elementary School in Hudson chose to take their group project in a different direction. This year, the class of 4th and 5th graders wrote, shot, and directed their own stop-motion shorts. The projects that demonstrate creativity and teamwork were recently given time on the big screen, and the best of our knowledge got a front row seat for an evening of slimes, magical portals, and unlucky graham crackers.
Sit back, relax, and enjoy the show.
Inside Hudson Hall Opera House, parents and community members gathered to watch stop-motion shorts created by students at Montgomery C. Smith Elementary School. The students, part of the school's extended learning time program, spent the last several months studying animation and creating stories, characters, sets, and miniature models for their first dives into stop motion. Students greeted guests and showed off their creations before their shorts played on the big screen. In Magical Mansion, created by Jaylee Mignot and Bella Moran, a girl steps into a magical portal, as Mignot explains.
We have our character named Caprice's home, and this is the other setting, which is the magical spot where she ends up.
The shorts demanded a lot of work from the students, but Moran says she enjoyed the process.
I liked creating all the props, and it was really fun collaging to make them.
In Slime Trouble, created by Michael Weaver and Kamran Mia, two friends in a car are, well, it's better to let them explain it. Weaver goes first.
Lonely Log and Jeffy the Snake going to a dinner party with their family, and they're bringing cake. But there's these slimes who want to eat the cake
because they're hungry.
Yep. And then they have a little show off in the middle of the street. I just loved working with one of my best friends and thinking what are we gonna do that we would like, but also everyone else in the crowd would like.
It's the same. I also like how we made the characters, and also how we had multiple ideas that we did all work in. They all went into this, hearts of something.
The third short of the night was Abraham the Graham, created by Mac DePace, Joseph Weiss, and Koshik Mia. DePace explains what happens to their titular character.
It's about a graham cracker that is personified and comes to life, and they crash their car and they break their leg, and things get wacky and go sideways. We actually didn't know if we wanted to add sounds because we didn't have a lot of time left, but we thought it would be cool, so we added a few sounds. And some other tough things. It was hard to make it so there was enough time for people to read the speech bubbles too.
The ELT group in 2023 spent their year creating short films, a change from previous groups that worked on murals in 2021 and 2022. ELT co-instructor and visual artist Louise Smith said this year's stop-motion project presented challenges. The medium takes a lot of time and a lot of teamwork.
We didn't really know where this was headed in the end, and we kind of needed to just sort of be able to work with each other and feel out exactly the different paces that we all work in.
This year, photographer Brian Zimmerman lent his expertise to the ELT class.
We had to go through the math, 10 frames per second. How many, 60 seconds per minute, what is that? It was even a math thing. But, we of course we live in an image culture, and now it's I think of it as you have to teach young people how to use images effectively. And I feel like they really tackled this challenge of using a single image in sequence and thinking about frame rates. I know I'm getting...
Invited by personal letter from a student, Hudson Mayor Kamal Johnson arrived at the Opera House to watch the film.
I'm really glad I came because there's a lot of cool stuff that's happening. So I'm excited.
Johnson says the public-facing projects from the ELT group have had an impact on this small city. The mayor was interviewed for last year's sound poem and accompanying mural painted at the Bliss Towers housing development.
I mean, I've gotten a ton of feedback, positive feedback about it. You know, it's just very, good looking for Hudson, and as far as like beautification efforts, but also I live here, so, I drive by them all the time, and I just love to see it. And I love that, those kids that were involved are part of like history that they can see every day in their community. So it's awesome.
You're listening to The Best of Our Knowledge. I'm Lucas Willard. Schools across New York are working to update their computer science and digital fluency standards to fit new guidelines proposed by the State Board of Regents. One school district is poised to be ahead of the curve by bringing learning opportunities directly to students with a mobile education station. The Best of Our Knowledge's Jody Cowan traveled to the Queensbury School District and boarded the newly designed Q bus to bring us this report.
Parked in front of the Queensbury Elementary School playground, the blue and gold colored community bus, or Q bus, is hosting a group of second graders for a day of STEAM exploration. Equipped with Wi-Fi, AC, and several computing stations, the bus is intended to improve learning outcomes. Lori Guion, a coordinator for model schools with Washington, Saratoga, Warren, Hamilton, Essex, BOCES, and organizer of the grade-wide STEM Day, sees the Q bus as a great resource to help teach even the youngest students about computer science.
So all the students are learning all about science, technology, engineering, math, art, all the things you want them to experience, they get to experience here on the bus.
Using a refurbished school bus powered independently using a 100-foot extension cord connected to the school building, Guion has a full day of hands-on activities planned that were tailor-made for the group, including a class favorite, Osmo, an educational game system.
Osmo allows you to interact with an iPad, but you're using manipulatives. So it's a real hands-on, full-body kind of activities with the Osmo. So today they're coding. This is coding with Obby, where the students have to decide which of the blocks, the physical blocks, to put in the right place in order to make their character, Obby, move across the screen.
Inside the bus, several colorful activity stations have been set up. 5 iPads, each with a student engaged in coding play, lines the middle of the bus, while 3 other second graders stack blocks and compare shapes at the bus's back end. Outside, under the bus's retractable shade cover, 4 students surround a white folding table covered with different neon-colored tiles. Students excitedly use the tiles to track pathways for miniature Indy cars that change direction based on the tile's color. In December 2020, the Board of Regents adopted new standards for computer science and digital fluency with a goal to have students be able to navigate confidently and safely in a technology-dominated world. District administrators hope Queensbury's Q bus can help get students ahead of the game before standards are integrated into the upcoming 2023-2024 school year. Ben Greco is the Director of Instructional Technology at the Queensbury Union Free School District and lead constructor of the bus.
Really, we're looking for, an outdoor educational, STEM space, really, that's in line with our district board goals, something that we can use on campus and also within our community.
Greco said the goals for the bus's use came from within the community. The bus itself was also sourced from within the district and was picked from a fleet of vehicles already designated for retirement.
This bus had 60,000 miles when it was due for retirement, so we decided to keep it. The bus garage was responsible for ripping out the seats and doing the bondo, and the maintenance department was responsible for running the electricity. When I was a teacher and another teacher and myself, we did all of the construction and the finish work inside, and we relied a lot on the tech integrators and the students and teachers for their input as far as what they wanted to see on it.
While designed in Queensbury, the Q bus is being made available for out-of-district community events and for anyone interested in hosting the mobile tech hub. Grieco says there's endless uses for the bus.
I can tell you that we use it for our snack pack program here on campus, delivering food. During COVID, we actually used it to deliver lunches. So there's a lot of fun ways that we really can utilize other than, STEM-related activities. We've actually had quite a few visitors. The most recent one is our Wishi BOCES, our local regional information center there. They've come out, they've taken a look, they're looking to build one that they can use with their partner school districts as well.
The Q bus will cruise Queensbury through December before taking its winter recess. For the best of our knowledge, I'm Jody Cowan.
Community colleges often serve as an accessible, affordable option for people seeking higher education. More than just a place to get a 2-year degree or academic credit to transfer to a 4-year school, many community colleges task themselves with training workers for a changing economy. In 2023, skilled tradespersons like electricians and welders are in high demand, as are those with experience in high-tech manufacturing and advanced technology. Located in New York's Tech Valley, construction of a state-of-the-art workforce training center is planned at Hudson Valley Community College in Troy. The best of our knowledge's Alexander Babby reports.
Thousands of trades jobs are projected to open in the Hudson Valley in coming years, but there's a shortage of workers with the proper training to fill the roles. HVCC President Roger Ramsamy says the Applied Technology Education Center at the Troy campus will train the so-called invisible workforce, those who are ready and able to work but are passed over by employers.
Whether it's 3 months of training in credit or non-credit, 6 months of training in credit or non-credit, or 1 year, or whether they decide to go on for degrees.
Speaking Wednesday, Ramsamy said the training is needed more than ever.
There's approximately 17 million unfilled skilled trades and applied-related jobs that are vacant. 17 million. Do you think that number in the workforce of 300 million, which more than half are kids underneath 18, means that's a terrible number for the United States?
Ramsamy says the Hudson Valley is seeing a sharp increase in openings for skilled workers.
Just in our region, we are experiencing unprecedented demands for electricians, electrical engineers, HVAC, mechatronic technicians, semiconductor manufacturing technicians, welders, welding fabricators, electric and autonomous vehicle technicians, and more.
Ramsamy says the electric car industry is just one driver of the need. The $85 million Workforce Training Center will contain 130,000 square feet of space to provide training in trades fields, such as electrical or contracting work, among others. The college expects it to be open in 2026. Don Fine of Callanan Industries says HVCC provides opportunities that wouldn't be available elsewhere.
My 13 years here as a Hudson Valley trustee, all my former trustees, fellow trustees were here now, made a firsthand difference for me what Hudson Valley education makes for students, especially for those who have not had the chance to pursue higher education without Hudson Valley. It also has been important for those who need training in the skilled trades to fill the roles that Callanan and many other Capital Region companies need to be successful here.
Renee Powell of the Capital Region NAACP says the new facility will make the area even more attractive for industry development.
The center will not only meet the needs of all the students, it will make the Capital Region a desirable location for new state-of-the-art businesses that will bring employment opportunities with good-paying jobs.
Powell added that ATEC will provide for socioeconomic advancement as well.
This center will address one part of the equation to minimize the effects, if not destroy, systemic, low and non-living wages that plagues marginalized and underserved communities, which most of the invisible workers live in.
Ramsamy says ATEC represents a shift in thinking about the purpose of education.
I just came back from Budapest for the World Congress Summit. All the countries, most of them that were there from Europe, are already doing this. Degrees matters no more. It is about the skills that company needs that matters.
Rem Semi says the vast majority of HVCC graduates stay and work in the capital region. Reporting for the best of our knowledge, I'm Alexander Babby.
Coming up on the next episode of The Best of Our Knowledge, legislation in New York State would require school districts to offer student government opportunities to students. We'll speak with Shelley Mayer, chair of the State Senate's Education Committee, about the plan.
Not every student who ends up being civically involved is going to pick student government. But those who do, like those who are in the debate club and Model Senate and Model UN, they all gain skills. And we want to broaden that opportunity as broadly as possible.
And we'll also chat with a young woman who is the valedictorian of the first co-ed graduating class at a private high school in Troy, New York, that until 2 years ago only enrolled boys.
It was me, about 15 other boys, and then one other girl. So that was a big change, from being in high school with all girls classrooms to what was literally almost an all guys classroom. So the math teacher there, she was a great teacher, taught us the curriculum very well, of course, but she also usually came to us girls and would check in and say, how's the transition going? What can I help you out with? And as a female teacher in an all-boys school, I imagine she must have felt the same way a little bit when she started her job.
Join us on the next episode of The Best of Our Knowledge. This has been The Best of Our Knowledge, episode 1710. The Best of Our Knowledge is a national production of WAMC Northeast Public Radio. Thanks to associate producer Jody Cowan. The latest on all National Productions programs is available via the Airwaves newsletter and our flagship station's website, WAMC.org. Until next time, I'm Lucas Willard.